Welcome to the Thornton Review.
The show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us.
Florida Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Patronis is a fourth-generation Floridian, born and raised in Panama City. Jimmy worked for years at Captain Anderson's, his family's historic seafood restaurant in Panama City Beach. He received his associate's degree in restaurant management from Gulf Coast Community College and his bachelor's degree in political science from Florida State University. Jimmy's public service career began with internships in the Florida Senate and the United Kingdom's House of Commons. He served as a member of the Florida House of Representatives for 8 years. Jimmy is currently serving as Florida's Chief Financial Officer. He was appointed to the position by Governor Scott in 2017 and won statewide elections in 2018 and 2022. He's also currently serving as State Fire Marshal and chairman of the Florida Defense Support Task Force, protecting military families throughout the state and ensuring that Florida remains the friendliest state in the nation for members of the military and their families. CFO Patronis has chaired numerous state economic boards and committees and has served as trustee and director of hospitals and foundations and played a huge role in establishing the Northwest Florida Beaches International Airport in Panama City. Under CFO Patronis, Florida is in the best fiscal state it has ever been, and he wants to take that train of thought to Washington, D.C. He's an America First patriot that will work with President Trump on key issues, including securing the border, fighting Chinese influence in America, supporting veterans, and fixing the economy. He and his wife, Katie, are proud parents of 2 sons, Theo, age 13, and 11-year-old Johnny. Hi, I'm Paschal Schneier, executive producer and manager of the Thornton Review. Thank you for tuning in. Our guest on today's show is Florida's Chief Financial Officer, Jimmy Patronis. Jimmy, thank you for coming on the show. It's so nice to meet you again. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. So, Jimmy Patronis. I'm born and raised in Northwest Florida. Been in the Central Time Zone my whole entire life, but was in the restaurant business for 30 years with my family over at Captain Anderson's. Love public service. Served in the Florida legislature for 8 years, was termed out, was going back home to work in the family business. Rick Scott asked me then, he was Governor Scott, asked people on the Public Service Commission, asked my wife for permission. We did that for 3 years, and then he asked me if I wanted to be the CFO for the state of Florida. My predecessor left about 18 months early, so I was elected in 18, re-elected in 22, and I've got a wonderful wife, Katie, and 2 boys, Theo and Johnny, and I tell people I get to be the business manager for the state of Florida.
That's amazing. Love your story.
Thanks.
So thank you. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Patronis. Presidents throughout history have promised to cut unnecessary spending and waste. President Trump is the first and only president to keep that promise. He's showing us an America First agenda by aggressively exposing and eliminating fraud, waste, and outright theft of our tax dollars. He's uncovering reckless criminal behavior where elected officials and federal agencies have been stealing from us and plummeting the United States into trillions of dollars in debt. President Trump is working to reduce our tax dollars for America First priorities. I'm so glad to see Trump being Trump and not being blocked by impeachment trials, fake dossiers, and witch hunts. Here are my top 10 accomplishments during Trump's 4th through 7th week in office. It's actually 12. DOGE discovered that the government made $4.7 trillion in untraceable payments with our tax dollars. We may never know where that money went. The The head of the Social Security Administration resigned when DOGE went in to investigate and found that over 10 million Americans over the age of 100 are still receiving Social Security benefits. Border arrests hit the lowest mark since the last time Trump was in office. Fewer illegals are trying to come over. FEMA's chief financial officer was fired for illegally paying out $59 million to house illegal aliens in luxury apartments in New York City. FEMA money is meant for American disaster relief, such as hurricanes and wildfires. While Hurricane Helene victims who lost everything were only given $700, $59 million went to illegal aliens being housed in hotels. What a slap in the face. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, helps the United States prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters. FEMA's mission is to protect lives, reduce suffering, and safeguard property for Americans. Discovered that former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg spent the last 4 years mismanaging the federal agency as a slush fund for the Green New Deal scam. 90% of the workforce under his leadership were working from home, including him. The building was empty. A federal judge declined to block DOGE from accessing government data or firing federal employees because there was no evidence of irreparable harm that could be caused by the DOGE's access. Kash Patel was confirmed as FBI director and sworn in under Attorney General Pam Bondi. Illegal alien benefits that were being paid with our tax dollars were ended. USAID was shut down for its fraudulent disbursement of our taxpayer dollars, including but not limited to $84 million to Chelsea Clinton that was supposed to be used in Haiti. $3 million went to her wedding and $10 million to her mansion. Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi filed charges against New York Governor Kathy Hochul over New York's green light laws, which allow illegal aliens to obtain driver's licenses and blocks Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and Border Patrol agents from accessing New York driver's records, including those for felonies and misdemeanors. Located a covert surveillance device that had been embedded in the woodwork of the president's desk in the Oval Office. The desk had to be removed and special equipment used to find the surveillance device. Somebody was trying to spy on him. Urban ultimatum. Trump tells D.C. mayor to act now to clean up sprawling homeless encampments within the city, or his team will do it for her. We no longer have a federal government that is weaponized against us. Trump will make our military strong again. He will secure our borders. He will drain the swamp and eliminate wasteful government spending and fraud. And most importantly, Trump will make America great again. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to continue our discussion with Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Patronis. So, Jimmy, could you please explain your role as Chief Financial Officer? What exactly is that? How did you get that position, and why do you love it so much?
Sure. I tell people that I'm the business manager for the state of Florida. That's the easiest way to describe it. Look, I love the Attorney General. We've got more attorneys on the payroll than the Attorney General. I love the Ag Commissioner, but, you know, we do more investigations. We have a bigger law enforcement agency. We are the nuts and bolts. We're the gears. We're the base load of the state of Florida. Nobody shows up to work if our office doesn't show up to work. We sign every paycheck. We pay every bill. We license over 1 million insurance agents. I'm the state fire marshal. We have the bomb squad for the state of Florida. We have the fire college for the state of Florida. Whenever there's a disaster, whenever you had Hurricane Sally devastate Pensacola, the urban search and rescue teams that went door to door in this part of the state, our office did all the coordination. I'm the state treasurer. Anytime there's unclaimed property, anytime you don't cash a paycheck or you don't collect your deposit back from FP&L and utility, it reverts back to the state of Florida. And then we hold on to it, and somebody can go to fltreasurehunt.gov. I've said it so many times, I'm messing it up. fltreasurehunt.gov, and you can search right there and see if we have anything in your unclaimed property. About 1 in 5 Floridians has something there. Last year we gave out over $400 million of lost goods.
Wow.
So, I mean, it goes on, and Florida's still unique. We are the only state left in the union that has an elected cabinet. So if you go to an Alabama or Georgia or Kentucky or Tennessee, a lot of them have other statewide elected offices, but they don't necessarily come
like
together.
Attorney General?
Yeah, so
appointed in certain
so in
states?
some states are appointed. Like in Maine, it's actually an action of the legislature. So different states structure different ways. But in Florida, the governor, the CFO, the attorney general, the ag commissioner, all elected.
Wow.
We meet, once a month. And whether it be the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, that's our FBI, Florida Highway Safety Motor Vehicles, that's the troopers, Department of Insurance Regulation, Department of Financial Regulation, Department of Veterans Affairs. There's all these different cabinet agencies, and it creates good checks and balances. So anyway, it's a great
Are y'all
job.
pretty much on the same page right now?
We are.
As far as like the America First agenda and supporting President Trump?
Look, I'll be honest. So we had an interesting 2023 cycle.
Okay.
As we had a governor who decided he wanted to run for president. And so look, Governor DeSantis has done a great job in Florida, but it creates...
I love him as our governor.
Yeah.
I love him as our governor.
We all love him as our governor. But it definitely created some challenges when he
Yeah.
decides to run for president. Look, I think everything's worked out. We've got the right guy in there right now, turning our country around. And, I think it's truly exposing how broken Washington is now that Donald Trump has started to bring out all the tools that he can in order to question the absurdity of how dysfunctional Washington truly is.
It's absolutely absurd. Every single president has always promised to cut spending and to do what President Trump is actually doing. He is fulfilling his promise, and he's aggressively exposing the fraud and exposing the waste. I love it.
Well, and you got members of Congress, and to a certain degree, you might say you're members of the Florida legislature. Legislators inherently like to make people happy. One of the ways you make people happy is by giving them goodies. And, unfortunately, we're at a stage in our country where we've got to really think long and hard. And I tell people all the time, the people of Florida spend their money better than Tallahassee does. So that's going to be my statement. People ask me, what are you going to do when you go to Washington? I said, well, one, I'm going to be a fiscal hawk because I just don't like reckless spending. You're going to spend your dollars a heck of a lot better than Washington, D.C. will.
So as chief financial officer, you are in charge. You know where the spending is. You know who might be getting dog ear under the table, kickbacks or whatever. Is that happening in Florida like it is in the federal government?
Where I think we all can do better at any level. So you've got, take for example, we've heard the term grants. Grants are always understood as free money. So there's grant review. There's also, want to see what the work product is. But this is what you had in Washington, whether it be through U.S. aid. Marco came out this week and said that, I think 86% of all contracts under U.S. aid have been canceled. So, the state of Florida, we send money to universities, we send money to our state colleges, send money to hospitals, and a lot of this times they have to come and they have to produce what is going to be the deliverable, what is going to be the use of those dollars.
Right.
So then our office has full auditability. Anybody who gets a single dollar of any Florida taxpayer dollars, if we want to, we can go and audit them. So, I mean, it isn't just because you may feel like you're doing right by the citizens of the state of Florida. If people bring to light that we have concerns, then we go and investigate. Yeah.
Good. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
So are you impressed by President Trump's job exposing all the fraud? Do you back him wholeheartedly?
Yeah. So President Trump, I think so much of America sees the absurdity that he calls out. And what I appreciate about the president, he keeps it on about an 8th grade reading level so everybody can understand him. I tell people all the time, my team will bring me a press release to push out, and I'll just strike through words. So look, guys, I said, I want anybody and everybody that we serve to be able to understand what we're doing. And this is where, I think one of President Trump's greatest skills is just to He's just a darn good
He's
communicator.
gifted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
And he's hilarious. Like I just,
That is true.
he reminds me of my dad.
Yeah.
In a way, with his kind of gruffness
Yeah.
and some of the things that he says, like calling Rosie O'Donnell a dog.
Yeah.
You know, it's it's good stuff.
So there's definitely two sides to the president. There is such a gentle family side of him that we don't see enough.
Very genuine and caring.
Yes. Yeah, he's all about family.
He doesn't need to do this. It's like
That's right.
George Washington did not want to become the president.
Yeah.
But everybody was like, you are the man for the job.
Yeah.
You're the man for the job. That's how I feel about President Trump. I mean,
Sure.
President Trump wanted it because he knows what he's capable of. He couldn't do it in 2016
Yeah.
because they tried to impeach him immediately.
Sure.
I remember the day of the inauguration, we went back to the hotel room in Washington, D.C. in 2017. And already on the news, they were talking about impeaching him.
Sure. Well,
It was crazy.
the swamp was fighting back then as they're fighting back now. But, you think about what the president went through from 2020 to 2024. If he did not run for president again, they'd probably put him in jail. I mean, he had to continue questioning and fighting. We even came out with a legal defense fund for him. We did it without using any taxpayer dollars. And he was very grateful, but we all had to continue to turn up the volume over how broken our party is, how our party system is.
And I think every elected official who supports President Trump, who backs him wholeheartedly, and is involved in this, because it's so important. We have got to fix America.
That's right.
And President Trump is the person to do it, and because he can delegate and get people in his cabinet, which he's already done.
Sure.
To actually care and do it and do
And
a good job doing it.
and it's not gonna be an easy
Strong,
job.
progressive. No, I know,
It's
because you're
not
going to
gonna
get
be easy.
pushback.
Yeah.
And Charles Thornton and I were talking just earlier
Yeah.
today here in the office that the minute you do something right and truthful, you're going to get pushback.
Sure.
So he's exposing, like Maxine Waters, for instance, was funneling money to her daughter, like $1 million. She funneled $1 million to her daughter. And it's funny because just a couple weeks ago, there was a short video of Maxine Waters saying, we don't know what they have on us.
Sure.
We don't know what they have on us. We've got to stop them. And I was thinking, I wonder what she did that they have on her.
Sure.
Well, 2 weeks later, we found out.
Well, look, I just say what you want to say about Elon. I think Elon has brought a lot of things to light. Again, he's an outsider from a newer generation. President Trump is an outsider from an older generation.
Yeah.
I'm good with it. I think J.D. Vance is doing a good job too.
Oh gosh, our next president.
Yeah, that's right.
So, when you get to Washington, where do you see District 2 in 3 years? District 1, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Your
I know what you meant.
I'm thinking the State House. So, Congressional District 1, state of Florida. Once you're in office, where do you see District 1 in 2 years?
So,
what are your goals?
So my goals, we've got a massive military presence here in Northwest Florida.
Okay.
But this just doesn't go along with the military presence. It's a veteran presence. It's a retired veteran presence.
My dad is one.
Yeah. So, I mean, you think these men and women, they understand love of country. They understand the mission.
Patriotism.
They're patriots. Absolutely. But they're also, they're individuals that they're not going to be going to jail. They understand respect. They understand chain of command. They understand completing a mission. Yeah. So you've got a caliber of individual here in Northwest Florida that I think, other parts of the country would love to have. So I think it's my obligation to make sure that because we benefit from that quality of a family that calls Northwest Florida their home, I got to make sure the support systems are there. So whether it's getting them the necessary resources to be able to get their healthcare needs met, or just to make sure that the military missions that are only able to be performed here in Northwest Florida are protected. First and foremost, it's going to be protecting our warfighter, our military economy, our veterans, especially the veterans and their healthcare needs. That's probably the biggest thing. Then it goes back to, look, I'm a business person, and as like I said earlier, you spend your money better than Washington, D.C. does. I'm going to carry that attitude, attack inflation, drive down the cost of living as best we can where we can control it. And I think that's what President Trump's trying to do with the balance, especially with some of the reciprocal tariffs he's considering.
So you know how to read a budget.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot to it.
It's a good way to go to sleep.
Because some of them are so long. I used to be on the Citizens Advisory Committee at ECUA, and we had to vote on the budget every year. And I had so many questions, but it didn't seem like there was enough time in the day to answer them all.
But you got to ask them. I tell people all the time, I like asking questions.
I want to know the bottom line.
Yeah.
I want to know how much are we bringing in and how much are we spending,
Sure.
and what's the difference?
Sure.
Are we in a deficit? And a lot of times it's a deficit.
Well, we're in an environment right now where, Rick Scott and I talk on a regular basis. And one thing we've done in Florida for a long time is we balance the budget every year. But the Constitution makes us do it. Okay. So, I mean, as much as we would, like to, we brag about it, but the law makes us do it. We've got to have that same tool in Washington. We've got to have a Constitution that says you must balance the budget, And look, I'd love to see the president have a line item veto. I'd like to be able to see him to be able to veto out some of the ridiculousness that ends up in the federal budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So since you have taken over the chief financial officer position in the state of Florida, what is different from before you were in that
So
position?
we're in the best fiscal health we've ever been in the history of the state. Very proud of that. We've also
Why
done
is that? What did you do differently?
a number of things. Look, I tell people it doesn't start overnight. A lot of this started with Rick Scott. So when Rick Scott was elected governor in 2010, he saw the state of Florida as a poorly run business. He saw this as a business that could do better.
Was it quite? It wasn't quite as bad as Washington D.C. under the last
No,
8
no.
years.
But we had, but in
8 years prior, and then 4 years was okay, and then the last 4 years.
the last 4 years were the worst in our country's history.
Disaster, complete disaster.
But Governor Scott, attacked debt. He attacked taxes. We don't have a lot of taxes in Florida, so where he could go after taxes, he did. Lowering your taxes on your cell phone bill, lowering your prices on tags, driver's licenses. So these are fees, but you might as well call them taxes. Yeah. So he attacked about getting those dollars back into people's hands. The other thing that Senator Scott did was he attacked tuition. He told his trustees that if you raise the cost of tuition, then I'll remove you off of the board of trustees that you're on. So that is something that again starts off, and then Ron DeSantis carried forward also. Yeah. Rick Scott attacked paying down debt. So I served with Senator Scott, then Governor Scott, for 18 months. We paid down $10 billion in state debt while he was governor. He was the first governor to pay down a single dollar of state debt since Bob Martinez was governor 20 years before. So
he did his kind of own DOGE.
Yeah, 100%. And then so now we've been able to keep up that battle rhythm. He started it, created this new efficient way to do government in Florida. And then Ron DeSantis comes in and he inherits a very well-run state of Florida. But it's only gotten better because we have kept those same policies in place.
So I hope that your successor is just as good at balancing the budget.
You, me both. Yeah, look, the governor's going to get to pick my replacement. So,
are there any prospects? Do you know?
Yeah, so I mean,
I don't know if you want to name any.
Yeah, I mean, so Joe Gruters is who President Trump and I are advocating for. Joe he's an accountant by trade. He was former chairman of the Republican Party of Florida, and he's just a good guy. He was very loyal to Rick Scott. He was very loyal to Donald Trump. He was one of the first elected members of the legislature to come out for President Trump. So President Trump's a big fan of his.
Is he good? Is he an America First patriot?
Oh yeah, look, when you hear President Trump talk about Joe Gruters, I mean, it's very endearing. He's a big fan of Joe's, but Joe's also been incredibly loyal to the president. So I think, look, Joe is going to run if he's not appointed, but it just depends on what the dynamics are between Governor DeSantis and who he decides to put over there. I hope he picks Joe. We'll see. But still have to make up his mind by March 31st.
So are you looking forward to being on the House floor?
Yeah, well, if the voters of CD want to allow me, I definitely do. But we've got
I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
yeah, we got a very serious election. I look forward to meeting your son up there.
Yeah. He's looking forward to meeting you.
Yeah.
He's texting me all day. Make sure you tell him about me.
We have to make sure you give him all my contact information. But it's
He
it's
would
exciting.
love to work in your office.
Yeah. Well, great.
But he's happy where he is. He's got a great job where
Sure.
he is. Just got a promotion. But I think that he would like to serve Florida
Sure.
in Washington, D.C.
You sound like a proud mom.
Oh, gosh. Ask anybody who knows me. I love to hear people brag about their kids, because if you're not
course.
bragging about your kid, what kind of person, what kind of
Yeah.
mom or dad?
Well, that's the other thing. When President Trump called and asked us to consider doing, they said, Jimmy says, if you'll run, I'll endorse you. And so we're excited, but you can't tell the guy no. But I think about my 14-year-old, 16-year-old boys, that they're going to be able to see America from the front row seats in a way that I never would have ever dreamed. So I'm excited about the opportunities to see history made.
So, I visit my son all the time in Washington, D.C., and we happened to be in the gallery when Matt Gaetz was speaking one time. Just by
Good
chance,
timing.
we had no idea he was going to be speaking. We just happened to walk in. He's in there speaking, and so that was very exhilarating, because my son is able to take me, on the House floor and into the gallery with his badge. He's got a little badge, and so it's like surreal.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
amazing. So I'm looking forward to seeing you speak on the House floor.
Well, and
by
so,
chance, maybe.
Yeah, and here's going to be interesting, because of how tight the margins are in Washington, D.C. right now. There are issues that aren't even going to be debated or brought to the House floor until CD1 and CD6 get decided. So CD6 is the Michael Waltz seat. And so President Trump endorsed a candidate by the name of Randy Fine. He's currently a state senator. So we're both going to be on the ballot April 1.
We're about to have to wrap it up.
Okay.
Do you have any closing statements or anything else you want me to know?
Yeah, I tell people I'm very accessible. Whether you find me on X at Jimmy Patronis, I don't do Facebook Messenger, and I'm not real text friendly, but I'm very email friendly at Jimmy@joinjimmy.com.
Joinjimmy.com.
Yeah, Jimmy@joinjimmy.com. If you put me on mailing lists, I will block you. I don't put me on your mailing list. I like to be responsive to the constituents that we serve.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, so I mean,
You are very responsive to me, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
I tell people, if you don't hold your electeds accountable, you get the government you deserve. So I mean, I just tell folks you need to be engaged, and that's
I like
exciting.
to thoroughly vet our candidates.
Yeah.
I like to know who I'm voting for,
Sure.
and I'm voting for you.
Thanks.
The Thornton Review is a civic engagement show with a purpose to spread awareness by interviewing local elected officials, candidates, and professional leaders. This is information you won't get anywhere else. You can watch the Thornton Review on our various outlets. Our website, thethorntonreview.com. On Vimeo, please follow the Thornton Review. On YouTube, please subscribe to the Thornton Review at the Thornton Review 7810. And please like our Facebook page, The Thornton Review Show. On TV, WBQP channels 12.1 and 12.8, and WBQP on Roku and Fire Stick. This show is made possible by Ida Gaetz, Godly Teas LLC, Alpha Fence Company, and our guest, Chief Financial Officer, Jimmy Patronis. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for
on.
having me. This was great.
Yeah. And thank you for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. Bye-bye.